Rumors had spread across the West, but Evelyn Reed was convinced of one thing. Blake Winchester was her mother's murderer. The noble Mr. Gold had pointed the finger at him, and the entire town believed that behind a beautiful smile and wealth lay an honest man. But fate had other plans, bringing the West's most beautiful woman together with the man she despised to uncover a shocking truth. Watch how this drama unfolds, and why justice, in the end, will prevail. At the story's conclusion, a vital lesson awaits you, one that will teach you wisdom. Subscribe and like so you don't miss this incredible story. The Rusty Horseshoe Saloon in Fort Silver was a place where the most notorious ruffians of the Wild West gathered, but even they fell silent when she appeared in the doorway. Evelyn Reed. Her name was known from Kansas to California, and not just because of her beauty. She was the daughter of the famous gold miner John Reed, whose lands yielded more gold and the mines of all the surrounding states. Her father had died 6 months ago, leaving Evelyn alone, with an immense fortune and a burden of responsibility that she carried with a nonchalant grace fit for a queen. She entered not as a timid lady, but as someone accustomed to power and attention. Her indigo dress, adorned with delicate lace, seemed out of place in the smoke-filled room, yet it fit her as if it were made for this very spot. Evelyn moved through the crowd of men whose gazes devoured her and stopped at the bar. She needed the man everyone here despised. "I'm looking for Blake Winchester," she said, her voice clear and resonant, echoing through the saloon, making even old Jimmy the bartender freeze with a bottle in his hand. At the other end of the room, in a dark corner, sat a man. His name was Blake. Coal-black hair, a pale face overgrown with an untidy beard, a raven perched on his shoulder. No one knew where he came from, but the bird was his loyal companion. Blake was an outsider, hated by everyone in town. They said he was a murderer. They whispered that he, in league with bandits, had attacked the Reed family and they were transporting gold. He attacked to steal, but something went wrong, and Evelyn's mother died. The most respected man in town, Mr. Gold, accused Blake of her mother's murder. He had no alibi. "You killed my mother," Evelyn said, approaching his table, her words like a whip. Blake looked up. His eyes, gray as a winter sky, met hers. There was no fear in them, no guilt, only weariness and something else Evelyn couldn't quite decipher. "I didn't kill her." His voice was low and hoarse, like the rustle of dry grass. "You're lying." Her voice trembled with rage. "Mr. Gold saw you flee the crime scene." "Mr. Gold saw what he wanted to see," Blake replied. "And for the first time in a long while,
I ask you to like and subscribe to the channel, so you will help me in motivation to make such great stories for you, and I will see that you like them. Enjoy watching, everyone."
A shadow of emotion, akin to mockery, appeared on his face. Evelyn couldn't control her emotions. The anger she had suppressed for so long erupted. She grabbed a glass of whiskey from the table and hurled it to the floor, shards scattering. "I didn't come here to listen to your excuses, Winchester. I came to finish what you started." Blake silently watched her outburst. He didn't move, only the raven on his shoulder ruffled his feathers. Silence fell in the saloon. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. What would the murderer do to the woman who had openly accused him? "What do you want?" he finally asked. "I want you to clear your name," she replied. "I want you to prove to me that you didn't kill my mother." Blake smirked again. "Why should I do that for you?" "Because I'll pay." Evelyn pulled a small leather pouch from her purse and tossed it onto the table. It landed with a dull clink. "Gold dust. I know you need money. Help me find the real killer, and I'll not only clear your name but give you more gold than you've ever seen in your life." Blake looked at the pouch, then at her determined face. Not a single person in town had offered him a cent. No one believed him. No one wanted anything to do with him. He was an outcast. But this woman, the most beautiful woman in the entire West, offered him not only money, but a chance at redemption. "And what will you do if I refuse?" His voice sounded like a threat. "I'll shout from every corner that you're a murderer and make sure you never find peace," she replied, without blinking. "The choice is yours." Blake leaned over the table, and his raven flew onto his arm. "Your father was a friend to me. I didn't want his daughter to face this world alone." Evelyn flinched. She hadn't known her father knew Blake. "He died without ever telling me who his friends were," she replied. "Anything else?" Blake slowly rose. He was taller than she had thought. His hands were large and strong. There was no pity or regret on his face. "Your mother died defending her family. If you want to know the truth, you'll have to come with me. Forget your fancy dress and silk stockings. This will be dirty work." Evelyn felt a shiver run through her body, not from cold, but from fear. Yet fear mingled with determination. She was angry. Angry at Blake, angry at the world, angry at herself for letting this happen. But she understood that without his help, she couldn't manage. She nodded. "All right. I agree. Lead the way." As they left the saloon, all the men watched them go. The West's most beautiful woman had chosen a murderer, an outcast, a man everyone hated, as her companion. What would happen next? No one knew. But everyone understood that they were about to witness something incredible. When Evelyn and Blake left the saloon, the sun was already sinking, painting the sky in shades of red and orange. The air was thick with the smell of dust and hay. Evelyn expected Blake to lead her to his home, but he stopped at a small stable. His horse was waiting there, an old, sturdy mare with a dark mane, seemingly as clumsy and inconspicuous as her owner. "We'll have to ride," he grunted, not looking at her. "It's a long way." Evelyn frowned. "Where are we going?" "To the place where it all began," he replied. "To Wine Canyon. It'll take a few days." Blake's words made Evelyn feel out of her element. Her delicate shoes and dress were completely unsuitable for such a journey. She was used to comfort and luxury, not dusty roads and sleeping under the open sky. But her determination to find the truth was stronger. Blake silently watched her hesitation, his gray eyes seeming to see right through her. "We won't be staying in town tonight?" she asked, trying to hide her disappointment. "No. The sooner we leave, the better. They'll already be waiting for us, or we're headed. And it's not wise to linger here in Fort Silver." Surprise flickered across her face. She hadn't expected Blake to take his safety so seriously. She wasn't used to thinking about such things. As the daughter of a wealthy gold miner, she had always felt her wealth was her shield. But now she felt defenseless, and it was an unfamiliar and unpleasant sensation. As they left town, Evelyn felt truly alone for the first time. All around them stretched endless, wild land. She rode the horse Blake had lent her, trying to stay close to him. During the journey, she watched him. He was silent, his movements precise and deliberate. He knew this land. As they traveled, Evelyn noticed that he wasn't just leading them forward, he was tracking. He found trails invisible to her eyes, reading them like a book. "What are you looking for?" she couldn't help but ask when they stopped to rest. Blake crouched by the campfire, spreading out an old blanket. "I'm looking for the truth, and it seems you are too." His tone was even, without a hint of mockery. "Look what I found." He extended a burnt piece of leather to her. Evelyn took it. It was a fragment of a scabbard, adorned with faint embossing. Is this from the attack site?" Her voice trembled. "Yes. I found it when I was looking for my horse." She ran off then, but no one believed me. They said I planted it myself. It was then, for the first time, that Evelyn saw in Blake not just a murderer, but a man who had also experienced loss. She felt her hatred for him diminish, giving way to something new: interest. She began to ask herself questions she had previously ignored. Why had Gold accused him so quickly? Why was he in such a hurry? "I owe you an apology," she said softly. "I thought you thought I was a murderer," Blake finished, without looking up. "Everyone in this town thinks so." "Then why did you agree to help me?" Her question was sincere. "Your father was a friend to me. I came to Fort Silver when I was nobody. He was the only one who offered me a hand. He taught me how to survive in these lands. And he told me something I've remembered my whole life. Justice doesn't always walk the streets, sometimes you have to find it in the wilderness." Evelyn felt a tear roll down her cheek. For the first time in a long time, she felt she wasn't alone. She was captivated by his story and the way he spoke of her father. She began to understand that Blake was not the man she had imagined. He was complex and profound, his motivation not self-serving, but based on loyalty. The next day, they reached Wine Canyon. It was a place where the wind whistled through the rocks, creating eerie, wailing sounds. Here, among the stones, Blake found another track. He crouched down, carefully examining the ground. "Horses," he said. "Two. They were running headlong." "Your mother," she fought. Evelyn looked at his face, devoid of any pretense. He was right. Her mother, a woman of strong character, would never have given up without a fight. Blake showed her the hoof prints. They differed from the tracks of the bandits' horses, who were said to have attacked the wagon. "These aren't those horses," Blake said. "These are prints from horseshoes only used in town." Evelyn felt a chill run through her body. If it wasn't the bandits, then who? Blake raised his head and looked at her. "I know who it was. But you must be ready for the truth. It can be very ugly." She nodded. "I'm ready." It was at that moment that Blake took her hand. He gently squeezed her fingers, and Evelyn felt warmth. It was not a gesture full of passion, but rather a sign of trust and support. In his eyes, she saw the reflection of her own determination. "Are you ready now to learn who killed your mother?" he asked. Evelyn nodded. "We're going to Fort Silver," he said. "I'll show you." On the way back to Fort Silver, Evelyn no longer felt like just a passenger. She was a partner. They spent the night under the stars, and Blake, who had once seemed silent and gloomy, began to tell stories. He spoke of the stars as if he knew each of them by name, of herbs capable of healing, and of how wild nature gives you exactly as much as you are willing to take. She listened to him with admiration, realizing how mistaken her previous perception of him had been. There was no malice or bitterness in his stories, only respect for the world he lived in, and sorrow for how people destroyed that world. "My father always said you had to know how to read the signs," Evelyn said when he finished. "But I never understood what he meant." "He meant not only the tracks on the ground, Evelyn. He also meant the signs in people. He saw something more in you than just the daughter of a rich man. He saw your strength," Blake replied, looking at her. This was the first warm and sincere compliment she had ever heard. She had always been praised for her beauty or wealth, but no one had seen her inner strength. And these words, spoken by a man she had recently despised, meant more to her than all the compliments in the world. When they rode into town, Evelyn was surprised to notice how many eyes were fixed on them. Their joint appearance caused more of a stir than her arrival alone. The Rusty Horseshoe Saloon was as crowded as it had been the day she first entered. All conversations instantly ceased. "Come here," Blake said, stopping in front of the bar where Jimmy the bartender stood. "Tell them what you saw." Evelyn looked at the man, at his dust-covered face, and understood that he was waiting for her. He wasn't going to defend himself. He gave her the right to speak for both of them. "It wasn't bandits," she said firmly, addressing the crowd. "The hoof prints left at the scene of the attack belonged to horses from this town." A whisper went through the room. "You can check for yourselves. The horseshoes are special, with a pattern. They're only made at the blacksmith shop on the outskirts of town." The eyes of everyone present instantly turned to Gold. His face, usually calm and arrogant, suddenly contorted with rage. He was a well-known man, the owner of a large trading company. He was the one who upheld order and law in the town, or at least, so it seemed. "What nonsense are you talking, girl?" Gold roared. "This Winchester has brainwashed you. He's a murderer. And you know it." "I know he's not a murderer," Evelyn said, her voice trembling. Gold pulled out a pistol. Everyone present froze. Only one sound filled the saloon: Blake's hoarse laugh. "Did you think I wouldn't come back?" Blake asked, still laughing. "Or did you think I wouldn't find you?" "I knew you'd come back, Gold. I was waiting for you to show your true colors." Blake never carried a weapon. He was a man who avoided violence. He merely raised his hand and showed Gold a small flask. "You used poison to kill my mother." "I know," Evelyn said, "and I have proof." In truth, Evelyn had no proof, but she believed Blake, and that was what mattered. Gold knew his deception was exposed. He didn't know if she was bluffing or not, but his fear was evident. In that moment, as his face contorted in horror, Evelyn saw his weakness. He was no hero, he was a coward. "Get out," Gold hissed. "I won't deal with you." "Your time is up," Blake said, and for the first time, something more than weariness echoed in his voice. It was determination. "I knew my mother died because of you. And now I'll do everything to make sure your plan doesn't work." He looked at Evelyn. "I know you see my pain. I know you see my determination. And I know you see my hatred." Evelyn was in shock. Gold had not killed her mother. He had killed Blake's mother. That was why he had so desperately wanted to find him. Evelyn felt her world turn upside down. Everything she had believed was a lie. Everything she had been told about her mother's death was merely part of someone else's dirty scheme. "Why'd?" she asked. "Because my mother, she was your father's wife. And my father, he was his close friend." Blake's words echoed through the saloon, and in the ensuing silence, Gold, taking advantage of the general confusion, pulled out his pistol and fired. Evelyn, standing closest, felt a rush of hot air. She squeezed her eyes shut. When she opened them, Blake stood before her, shielding her with his body. A wound bled on his shoulder. "You're hurt," Evelyn whispered, her voice laced with pain. "Not as much as he thinks," Blake replied hoarsely. The crowd in the saloon erupted. Some screamed, others rushed for the doors, trying to escape. Gold, wasting no time, bolted for the exit, but his path was blocked. Sheriff Johnson stood in the doorway. "Gold, you're under arrest," the sheriff thundered. Gold, realizing he was cornered, tried to shoot the sheriff, but his pistol clicked empty. Blake, despite his wound, lunged at him, tackling him to the floor. He didn't want to kill him, he only wanted to prove that Gold was not who he pretended to be. As the sheriff handcuffed Gold, Evelyn knelt beside Blake. She tore a strip of fabric from her dress and bandaged his wound. "Why did you protect me?" she asked. "You could have just let me die." "I didn't kill your mother," Blake replied, and for the first time, something more than weariness or cynicism was in his voice. It was deep, sincere compassion. "I didn't know her death was part of a plan to frame me. It hurt to know you hated me, because I saw in you a reflection of my own despair." Evelyn felt a tear roll down her cheek, tears not of fear, but of remorse. She recalled with disgust how she had despised him, called him a murderer, yet he, despite her hatred, had helped her, saved her life. "I thought you were..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "I know what you thought," he said softly, "but not always what seems true is true. Sometimes the truth lies beyond our understanding." After Gold was led away, Evelyn helped Blake to his home. She spent several days caring for him. During that time, they talked a lot. Blake told her that his mother, Maria, was a nurse who came to the Wild West to help the poor. She was her father's wife until he found out she was pregnant with another man's child. It turned out Maria was her father's mistress and that their son was Blake. When her father was dying, he said he didn't want anyone to know about his son and mistress because it would ruin his reputation. He only said that in his papers there was a letter that would explain everything. He gave her a hint. The West's most beautiful woman stunned everyone by choosing him. He meant Maria and his son, but everyone thought of Evelyn. Gold, one of her father's partners, found out about this. He framed Blake to forever get rid of her father's heir and seize the entire fortune, and then he killed Maria. Evelyn couldn't believe that her father, whom she considered an ideal, was such a man. She felt deceit, but beside her was Blake. He had become her brother. "I no longer look at you as an enemy," she told him one evening, when he had almost recovered. "I look at you as a man who lost the same as I did. And now I understand that we are not enemies, we are allies." Blake smiled. It was the first sincere smile she had seen on his face. He knew they were now one family, and he finally found peace. A lesson from this story: we so often judge people based on rumors, on their appearance, or on what others say about them. We see only the tip of the iceberg, failing to notice what lies beneath the surface. Evelyn considered Blake an enemy, a murderer, but he turned out to be her half-brother and truest friend. This story teaches us that we need to look deeper, that we cannot judge people by first impressions. It tells us that true wisdom lies not in believing what seems true, but in seeking the truth. Both in the 1880s and in the modern world, we must remember that every person has their own story, their own pain, and their own reasons for their actions. Only by opening our hearts and minds can we see true beauty and find true loyalty.